So, this is the extraordinary thing, that in the slump, when you keep meeting architects who've been made redundant or had to shed staff or whatever, we're also in some kind of a very weird golden age. If you go down to the Tate, I mean, the upward thrust of what's going on down there is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, building going on a scale we haven't seen in 3 decades. An entire section of London that is, obviously it's led by the Shard, but there's a heck of a lot else going on. You've got a lot of public building, you've got the Tate Modern 2, which is already pile driving right now. Oil tanks have been exposed. I wanted to go down there the other day because I realised that actually, if you look at the oil tanks down at the Tate, some people may not know, but the great beauty of that power station is that it was once driven by oil, and there are these enormous tanks, I mean, far, far bigger than this building. And they will not only make great display space, but I was reliably informed by the foreman on the site that they contained 65,000 barrels of oil at one point, and I suddenly realised if we filmed the tanks, we would then have a picture of exactly the amount of oil that is being spilled from the BP thing in the Gulf of Mexico. Then I realised that BP was a major sponsor in the I had some Tate loyalties, and I felt perhaps the oil tanks had better be put to rest and leave them behind the builder's hoarding and not intrude into private grief, or rather public grief. Very quickly on the other 2 things, and one is spawned also by what I've just been saying about Tate, and that is the suburban forest. This is, it's all part of architecture. Have you done anything on it? On the urban forest? It has to be done. I mean, well, what they've done is to seize virtually every piece of wasteland in northern Southwark. And there's an orchard, there's a vineyard, there's sort of weird gardening with very weird people in them, you know, doing interesting things. And we would have said in the 60s that the land had been liberated, but in actual fact, it hasn't. There is a real deal going on with developers who are now accepting that there are longer periods of lead time before they're going to get building. They've already taken down whatever was there, and there is this moment when, for perhaps as much as a year or even 2 cycles of growth, you could put in something very organic, and they have. And what they're now doing is making it so that all this stuff can be moved, so that when they start building on that site, they may be able to move the whole thing up to another site along the road. And developers are clearly feeling much less threatened than Harry Hyams did when they were trying to put something into Centre Point. So that's one thing, and that leads me to the other point that I wanted to make, which is, and I'm not sure if I spoke about this 2 years ago. If I did, I'm just going senile, but I'll repeat it anyway because it's worth it. I am a passionate believer in the urban tree, and I really do believe there is an absolutely deliverable scheme for growing vast numbers of urban trees. And the deal has to be, even in a recession, I mean, cycling here from Chalk Farm, there is at least 3/4 of a mile of dug-up road between here and Chalk Farm. And I can take you on any journey, and you all know this, any journey between here and 2 miles away, and you'll get 3/4 of a mile of dug-up road. Utility companies have to now be taxed, not with money, but with trees. And what they have to do is every time they get a permit to dig up the road, they then get the road map, they get the substructure of exactly where everything is, they know where the carbon cabling is, they know where the lighting cables are, they know where the drains are, and they also have the plant. So what they have to do is to dig tree pits every 50 metres. For every mile of road, they are obliged to put in the equivalent of 50 metres per 50 metres of trees for the entire project. It costs them nothing, nothing at all. We'll find a way of finding the trees. Most local authorities are still actually growing more trees than they know how to plant. And growing trees is not an expensive thing, and indeed if local neighbourhoods knew that pits were being dug, you could raise money very, very quickly to get the trees, and indeed to buy the dung, and indeed to have them maintained. So I believe that a tree tax needs to be levied, and it should be levied in the form of trees. And you should not be able to buy your way out of it. You can only get out of it by planting a tree. And the trees, I don't know what the meterage would. We might say 20 metres. This idea came to me because outside my foster building at 200 Gray's Inn Road, there were two heavenly plane trees, 150 years old. And one day, one of the buses hit one of the trees. Didn't kill anybody, didn't hurt anybody, but it damaged the bus. The next day, that tree was felled and the one next to it. Literally, just like that. By order of the local authority, bang, down came the trees. They've never been replaced. There's still a tarmac patch on the places where they stood. That is a tree, that is a road, grazing road, had end-to-end plane trees, and there's now a huge section of the road that has no trees. They're utterly irreplaceable. I managed to get costings for mature plane trees, £900 a piece. I managed to get funding for the trees. The local authority would not let us put them back. And the only reason the tree was hit by the bus was because the idiots had put in a disabled parking bay the other side of the road, which had pushed the traffic for the first time in history another 5 yards into this side of the road, into our side of the road. And consequently, the bus had hit the tree had to be taken down, and that was that. Now they've taken the disabled parking bay away, so we're back to square one. And they still won't let us have the trees back, because why? Because the substructure, the number of pipes and wires and all the rest going through this area now prohibit the possibility of planting trees. It cannot possibly be true. It cannot be true, and must not be allowed to be true, and if it is true, then the bloody wires have to be moved. So I would urge every architect in this room, not that there will be many, but anybody who has an interest in the built environment, anybody who's interested in CO2 emission absorption and the rest of it, we can plant thousands and thousands and thousands of trees as a result of what's going on right now, the renewal of Victorian pipes and the rest of it. And heaven knows, if people knew that not only were we going to have non-leaky sewers, but we were actually going to have greener streets, there would be a great deal greater kindness to the poor old workers who are toiling away or not, or leaning on their shovels in these sites. Finally, cycling. There's still far too much paint on the road, not nearly enough separated cycleways. A man rang me up the other day with an enormous amount of money, and not offering it to me, but saying that he has a scheme in which he is hoping in the Olympic year to put 1 million bicycles into London, which of course would be complete chaos and very, very dangerous indeed. Extremely dangerous thing to do. But the fact of the matter is, since 2001, cycling in London has increased by 90%. Fatalities have fallen by 33%. Now, that's about mass. The fact is, there is now cycling mass, where once I would be at the junction of Regent's Park and Euston Road with 3 other cyclists, I'm now there with never fewer than 12 or 15, and sometimes 20, 25. And the time has come now to recognise that mass demands major structural change, and it doesn't need to cost a fortune, but it needs to be attended to. So there I am, jogging cyclist, tree hugger, and New Horizon Youth Centre. And that, I know, probably an awful lot of bollocks, but that's all I came along to talk about. I don't know if that's what you wanted me to do, but I'll take any questions, but I don't suppose there are any. So there it is. Thank you very much.